Alrighty, welcome back everyone. Scarland here bringing you a new Magic Legends video, and today, as the title suggests, we're going to dive into a blue-black sorcery build. This build basically just pumps out as much DPS as possible. So we're going to go into it very quickly, and I'll show you everything you need. So right off the bat, of course you want the highest gear score that you can obtain. We'll go ahead and just jump right in to the equipment first. So we're looking at the Wild Seer's Cow. Kill at least one foe with your secondary. You have a 100% chance. You get control rating. Is this 100% necessary? Nah, not really. You can pretty much use whatever helmet you like. This just one, copes with the build because we are using blue. We do have some control spells. For our chest plate, we have the attire of the Dark Wanderer. And this basically gives us almost unlimited mana. Every time you have a full spell hand and you cast a spell, right now I have a 90% chance to gain lesser mana regeneration. I have to bump this up to 100% still. My gear and everything isn't fully maxed out yet, guys. But I mean, you can see my gear score. I mean, we're getting there. So, full spell hand, cast a spell, 90% chance, lesser mana regen. So this deck obviously goes around the blue ability to draw as many spells as you can. Also, on one of the mods, you have kill a champion or an elite. Every time I kill a champion or elite, basically I gain 300 black mana sorcery potency for 10 seconds. So again, this is a blue-black deck. We do have some black spells that do pump out a lot of damage. Now, the bracers, these are the mythic piece here, the Illusionist bracers. We use this because we are using Necromancer as our planeswalker. So every time you kill a foe with a class ability, 89% chance that you reduce your active class ability cooldowns by 5%. So that's huge, especially if you're familiar with how the Necromancer works. Every time you're casting your Grave Upheaval and then you're sacking all those creatures with your Necromantic Aura, your Necromantic Aura is going to give you a lot of damage and life still. So every time you kill a trash mob with that Necromantic Aura, you're going to just reduce your class cooldowns by 5%. So yeah, it works out fairly well. And I believe there's a mod on here that I don't have yet. No, it's not this one. If I had the creature build, would be worried about that. But this isn't the creature build. For our boots, we have the Wild Seer's Boots, and it's self-explanatory. Every time you activate your utility, 100% chance, you gain 250 blue mana sorcery potency. So, yeah, that's huge. So not only do we have the black mana sorcery bonus from our chest, we also have blue mana sorcery from our boots. And again, you're going to be popping your utility, which is your Necromantic Aura, all the time. So every time you pop that, you're going to have this buff available. Also, it has Pick Up a Health Globe. You have a 100% chance to disorient a nearby foe for 5 seconds. As far as the accessories go, I personally have the Medallion of Hope, which is utility potency, health globe potency. You might not have these. You might have to get the mods unlocked for it. So, double utility potency. Again, Necromantic Aura. Lots of damage. Our second accessory, we have the Resolute Ring. Primary potency, max health potency, and lifesteal potency. I have intentions of changing this to the go-to of the Slagworm, but I just don't have enough upgrades. It will not drop for me, so I haven't got the upgrades, but you're going to want to use the Slagworm Pendant, and that's every time you activate Mana Surge, which you're going to be activating all the time. You never want to have your daily available or your ultimate ability. You never want to be using that. You want to activate Mana Surge all of the time. So you and your creatures gain Greater Might for 5 seconds, and that's why that's a big deal. Greater Might is going to provide you a buff that your sorceries are going to do even more damage. So like I said, right now, I just don't have enough to upgrade this. I need to get this to 100%, obviously, so every time I use my Mana Surge, I'm getting that Greater Might. So it is what it is, but, RNG in the game is RNG in the game. So that's the gear that you're going to most likely want to use. If you don't have it, use placeholders until you can obtain these pieces and level up these pieces. Let's go ahead and jump into the artifacts. The legendary, where you are using the Implement of Combustion, it's for the extra DOT damage. Also, it does have a card draw on it. But unfortunately, the card draw isn't very high because we only have one creature in this deck. So your card draw coming from the implement of combustion is only going to be 15% to get that extra card. We're mainly using this just for the extra DOT damage. Essentially, it stacks up fairly nicely. So our greater artifacts, we are going to use the Cursed Idol, and that's mainly for Grainer Vulnerability, and the Black Mana Sorcery Potency. So this does cast lesser vulnerability on yourself, so you will be more vulnerable, and then you can cut this down, but again, it's only by creatures, so you're going to have lesser vulnerability for 11 seconds. But the greater vulnerability is just too good not to use. It's basically just a debuff that monsters will take additional damage from you. Now, Suffocating Curiosity, this is going to be probably the hardest one for you to obtain. You either have to buy this on the broker with gold, if there's one available, or you have to use the Imperium Shards, which are over here. So if you go to the Imperium store, you need 300 Imperium Shards, and the only way to get Imperium Shards is to open booster packs. So yeah, you know, if you dump some money in the game, or you use the exchange, or you're lucky enough to snag one of these off the broker if they're available, that's completely up to you on how you're going to obtain it. But you have to have it for this build. It's so important. So Suffocating Curiosity is whenever you cast a spell that costs blue mana, you gain greater swiftness and deal a AoE damage per second to contacted enemies. So the only downfall to this is that you have to be right on top of your enemies. However, this coincides with the necromantic aura on the necromancer. So every time you cast a blue spell, you're going to have this whirlwind around you, and you basically just want to stand on top of mobs. Now, I know it says that the damage doesn't look like a lot. It's only 1,029 damage. However, if you read the bottom, damage is multiplied by 2 times the number of black mana spells in your deck. We currently run 4 black mana spells, so it does boost it up a good bit. And I mean, I've seen this thing crit for, you know, hundreds of K of damage. So, I mean, I don't know if it's just not working properly, if something's broke with it, but as it sits right now, yeah, you definitely have to have this artifact for this specific build. Your 3 lessers, we're using the Shard of Power. Oh, and the Suffocating Curiosity also has blue mana sorcery. Shard of Power has recharge speed, which means you're going to get your mana surge back more. And then Chromatic Sorcery is all colors of sorcery, so black and blue. Eye of Lost Dreams. We do take a hit here slightly because it is blue and black mana sorcery, but the secondary is blue mana creatures. We only have 1 blue mana creature. He's kind of irrelevant, but hey, we're boosting his HP a little bit, so... Demonic Aperture is going to be, again, Spark Recharge and black mana. So we have a good bit of Spark Recharge. There's 250 here, another 250 here, and another 250 here. We have a lot of Spark Recharge, which really helps us out. It boosts your mana surge. Your bar goes up fairly quickly. As I said, the class, we are playing the Necromancer. We're mainly using it for the Grave Upheaval, and then, of course, the Necromantic Aura. Your traits don't really matter. If you wanted to slot one important one, it would be the Geomancer one for the self-revive. The Geomancer is the class that I'm missing, but most of these all revolve around pets and creatures. So these are irrelevant. The most important thing I can tell you about traits is that you want to have 3 slotted because they do give 30 gear score each. So just having 3 traits slotted is giving you 90 gear score. So that's a big ordeal. So that should cover all of the gear, the artifacts, the class, the traits. We'll go ahead and move right into the deck. So right now, as it sits currently in game, as of filming this video, today is April 14th of 2021. There is a major patch scheduled tomorrow. I'm pretty certain some things are going to get nerfed, adjusted, and changed. So I wanted to make this video full disclaimer just to show you guys what most people in the game were abusing. So let's go through the deck, and then we'll show you the rotation, and then how overpowered this really is. So we have the Thaumaturge here. The only reason we use him is the sorceries you cast cost 25% less mana. With this build, with this setup, we will essentially have unlimited mana, and he's one of the reasons. You can actually gav like 3 of these out at one time if you're casting fast enough, and I'm not 100% sure if they are stacking, but if they are stacking, that's 75% mana reduction, which is huge. We have Concentrate, which is draw 3 spells. And it has, at rank 7, it's 64% to draw a 4th card. That's a huge ordeal. You want the card draw. Now we have Spellstorm. This is a mythic enchantment, rather. So what Spellstorm does, as long as you have it active at rank 7, it's 48 seconds. Whenever you cast a sorcery, you gain a storm counter up to 3. Sorceries cost 1 less colorless mana for each storm counter you have. Remove all storm counters if the sorcery is not cast for 3 seconds. So with this build in particular, you are literally spamming spells non-stop, and it just adds to your mana reduction. That's 3 colorless mana that your sorceries are not gonna cost. That's huge. So now we move into the Glint, right? So Glint has been broken essentially since day 1. You can read what it does on the screen. However, right now, Glint is giving you like maximum card draw. Okay, so you're just gaining like 7 cards. The only stipulation is that you have to have a creature alive for that to happen. So for whatever reason, if your Thaumaturge is dead, it's another reason we're using Necromancer, because then you'll be able to cast your Grave Upheaval. Those do count as creatures, so if you have your Grave Upheaval up, you'll cast that, get your Glint, get your 7 cards in reserve, you're good to go. Next we have Phantasmagoria. Now this is what I call a placeholder spell, and I'll show you in the rotation. We don't actually use this spell very often. Maybe in like a world boss encounter I'll switch to it, because it does a lot of damage, as you can see on your screen, and it also provides a debuff, greater weakness. It reduces the damage dealt that monsters do. However, when I'm just doing trash mobs and normal ordeals and skirmishes, I don't even use this. This is a placeholder spell. I'll show you what I mean in the rotation. So next we have Tidal Wave. It's just a AoE essentially, 27k at rank 7, just an AoE, and it has a lesser snare on enemies. Tornado. A lot of people don't like Tornado because it pushes the enemies around, things get messy, etc, etc. However, Tornado is also a lot of AoE damage, so I like it for that reason alone. You don't have to use Tornado, you can use something else, but that's completely up to you. Icicle, again, this is one of those placeholder spells. It does a lot of damage, however, it's only a line effect. I'm not very fond of line effects in this game. I like AoE, like the circle AoEs on the ground, such as, Phantasmagoria, Abyssal Flames, it has a circle AoE on the ground. Icicle actually is it's a line ability, so it'll hit all enemies in a line in front of you, and then it also stuns them. Again, I don't use this, it's situational, maybe on world bosses or something, but situational. So that's all the blue spells. The black spells, again, we only have 4 black spells. You want to stack heavy on blue and 4 black. Now, you could theoretically make some changes, but we do have Desecrate. Again, I don't use Desecrate, even though Desecrate does a ton of damage. It does a ton of damage. When you use Desecrate, you have a chance of sacrificing your Thaumaturge or your Grave Upheaval pets. It's situational, and it crashes the game fairly often. So as it sits right now, I haven't been using it. I haven't needed it. It is a good, reliable spell. I just haven't used it. And just keep in mind, you can see the mana cost. It's 3 colorless and 2 black mana. So if you have full charges on your Spellstorm, this only costs 2 black mana to cast. So that's insane. Leech Outbreak is basically the thing that keeps us alive in this build. I mean, we could solo everything in the game right now, even world bosses on Master with, 1233 gear score. But Leech Outbreak basically is a AoE DOT, and it heals you. So not only are you doing damage to the mobs, but it heals you for that amount as well. And it's insane. The healing is insane. This one individual spell is going to keep you alive for the most part. Infest is a DOT AoE as well, and it also provides lesser vulnerability. Now, we can't confirm or deny, but we are all in agreement that we think that things are stacking, whether they're supposed to or not. So things like lesser vulnerability and greater vulnerability can both infect the mobs, and their effects stack. So that's one of the reasons that we use Infest, because it's an AoE for lesser vulnerability, and then you're getting your greater vulnerability from your cursed idol. So Infest is kind of important just to debuff those mobs on Master. You know, they are a little hard. And then finally we wrap out the deck with Abyssal Flame, which is huge. Huge amounts of damage. My Abyssal Flame is probably the hardest hitting spell in this entire rotation, especially when you deal the 50% additional damage when mobs have 50% less health. So you want to kind of time it right. Unfortunately, you can't. You're going to be spamming your ability so fast, and I'll show you here very shortly, that it's not going to matter. You're going to be spamming this so fast. You're going to have it out all the time. And then once those mobs reach that threshold of 50% or less health, then that additional effect hits. So right now, at my gear score and my Planeswalker level, my Abyssal Flame crits from anywhere from like 450 to 500k, that's 500,000, that's 500,000 damage a second, right, in the last 5 seconds. So, yeah, pretty solid broken deck. So, what happens when and if they fix/nerf Glint? There is some things that you'll be able to use. You can put Dark Gamble for the greater mana regeneration. You're still going to have your card draw from Concentrate. It's just not going to be as fast. But this deck is still going to be valid even if and when they fix Glint. I mean, you can even take Glint off and put another sorcery in here, for example, like Magnetic Pulse, Telestrike, Shatter, Icy River, you know, Frost Armor. I don't have Frost Armor yet, but, you know, if you have access to Frost Armor, I believe you get it from the Mystical Study. You have to buy it. You know, there are other options available. The only downfall is that Glint being broken, as it is right now, makes this deck super, super overpowered. Once they fix it, if they fix it, you're still going to be able to use this setup, guys. It's just you're not going to have the infinite card draw. So right now, let's go hit some dummies, and I want to show you guys what I mean with infinite mana and infinite card draw. And then we're going to wrap this video up, because I think we covered everything. So essentially, we're going to come over here. Let's get our abilities up here. So our Abyssal Flame's up, our Mana Surge is up, our Grave Upheaval up, and our Necromantic Aura. Now, I've already set it up. Now, what you want to do is you just want to spam one key. So I already have my placeholder set up. Desecrate, Phantasmagoria, and Icicle. You're never going to hit your number 2, your number 3, or your number 4 key if you're playing on controller, respectively, whatever they are. You're essentially going to spam your number 1. Because all the spells that I need are only going to be drawn from here. Now, if you accidentally actually, you know, hit your number 2 button and you're popping your Icicle, then you're going to have to set it up again. But, well, this is an ideal setup for what you want. So let's see how fast we can get this going here. So we're going to go ahead and start popping everything. And then you can just see the damage on your screen. There's my Glint. So now the card draw, the infinite card draw just activated. So now we have 7 cards in reserve. Our Mana Surge is up again. We're just hitting buttons. There's Infest. I mean, we're hitting buttons so fast that we can't even see what we're casting, guys. And that's why this is broken. It just keeps going and going and going. There's my Concentrate to keep it boosted. There's my Glint again for more card reserve. And you're just sitting here unloading just unfathomable DPS. Now, these dummies aren't dying. So my Abyssal Flame isn't hitting for that 500k, right? Because, you know, these are just dummies. Now, if I was out in the world and we were doing that kind of stuff, you would see the full potential of this. But, yeah. So, you know, you have your spell counter up. You know, you're popping your Mana Surge. You're popping everything you possibly can. And you're just literally just going to town. You're just going to town. So, is this broken? Yeah, this is definitely broken. I wanted to make this video just to highlight this build for future references. 5 years down the road, we can come back and look at this and say, yeah, those were definitely the glory days, that's for sure. So once they fix Glint, you're still going to be able to do this, just not adequately. See, like right now, we got screwed on our card draw, right? So now you have to start it up. Now we're waiting for card draw, right? And that does happen. That'll happen out in the overworlds as well. If you spam way too fast, so there's our glint, and you can start again. If you're spamming way too fast, you know, things won't align appropriately. You will run out of card draw. It's just, you know, it happens. But then you'll just get it right back. Like, you can clearly see we're right on schedule again here. We're just actually trying to get our mana up at this point with the spell counters and the sorceries and everything. So once you get that going, I mean, it's just an endless cycle of non-stop spamming, guys. Activate your mana surge and just go to Pound Town. There is nothing that you should be having issues with. You should be able to do everything in the game on master difficulty with all world enchantments if you even want to activate those. So, again, is this going to get fixed? Yeah, most likely. It's clearly broke. Is there alternatives? Yeah, there are. You're just not going to be as adequate and as fast with the card draws. So that's all I got for you guys today. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. That is the blue-black, basically just a overpowered DPS sorcery build. Let me know in the comments below, you know, if you enjoyed it, if you're using it currently. We will see what happens in the future. Like I said, it's most likely going to get fixed, adjusted, nerfed, whatever terminology you want to use. It is broken, you know, it's overpowered. It is what it is. We'll make adjustments as I see fit down the road to, you know, counterbalance that. Like I said, even with Glint giving you the max 7 card draw, Concentrate is still 4 cards, right? And I'm sure Concentrate goes up to like 80% at rank 10, give or take. So you're still going to be snagging almost 4 card draw off this, whereas Glint is giving you the maximum 7 cards at all times as long as you have a creature alive. So, yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Remember to smash the thumbs up button. Really helps the YouTube algorithm. And I'll see you guys real soon.